Hello, this is our final project. We did our presentation on uranium mining. This presentation is by Zoe Day, Kylie Stanley, Carl Williams, Ella Savage, Kayla Minto, and Porter Hossack. First, some background information. In 1789, uranium was first discovered and named by Martin Heinrich Klaproth, a German chemist who found them in silver mines in present-day Czechia. Dr. Klaproth named it Uran after the planet Uranus. Its original uses were mostly for art forms, ceramics and photography, and the radioactive properties weren't discovered until 1866 and weren't understood as an energy source until the mid-20th century. Now, it has been understood and manipulated to be an energy source for industrial, medical, and defense industries. Uranium is a naturally occurring radioactive element that has been mined for its chemical properties. United States Environmental Protection Agency. It also has been around for thousands of years and is now used for nuclear reactors that make electricity. Conventional mining of the ore or using strong chemicals to dissolve uranium from the rock are two ways uranium can be mined.
At the mill of a conventional mine, the uranium is separated by ion exchange before being dried and packed, usually as U3O8, triuranium octoxide. Some mills, especially in the USA, use carbonate leaching instead of sulfuric acid, depending on the ore body, where uranium is then recovered as a byproduct, for example of copper or phosphate. The treatment process is likely to be more complex. World Nuclear Association, 2022.
Next, why mine uranium? Mainly, uranium is mined to generate nuclear reactors, which generate electricity. It is also used for medical isotopes. Since uranium contains two isotopes, U-238 and U-235, natural uranium contains 0.7% of U-235. It is no secret that it would be used for military-grade weapons. Canada is the most significant player when it comes to atomic terrorism via medical isotopes due to uranium mining and uses highly enriched uranium, which contains more than 20% of U-235, to make their nuclear bombs.
Nuclear weapons, energy programs, nuclear reactors. By 1942, mines on the Navajo Reservation were the main source of uranium for the top-secret Manhattan Project. Voiles, 2015. Produces isotopes used for medical, industrial, and defense purposes around the world. U.S. Department of Energy. Pros and cons. Pros. Carbon-free electricity. Small land footprint. High power output. Reliable energy source. Cons. Uranium is technically non-renewable. Very high upfront cost. Nuclear waste. Malfunctions can be catastrophic.
Next, who mines uranium?
About 2/3 of the world's production of uranium from mines is from Kazakhstan, Canada, and Australia. World Nuclear Association, 2022.
As said before, the biggest uranium miners are Kazakhstan and Australia, with Australia taking 28% of the uranium globally and Kazakhstan taking 15% of the uranium globally. Diving a little bit deeper, the top two biggest uranium mining companies, according to INN, are BHP's Olympic Dam generating $192.12 billion and Cameco generating $12.2 billion. BHP Olympic Dam is one of Australia's largest uranium deposits in the world. Although a primary site of copper, it does mine uranium, gold, and silver, making it a fully integrated processing facility. However, in 2021 the uranium asset decreased by 11% year to year, making the total production fall from 3.678 million mount of uranium oxide concentrate to 3.267 million mount. Due to COVID-19, Cameco's mining year of 2021 made uranium production operate at 75% below productive capacity, making the company's uranium output total 6.1 million pounds for the entire year. So, its annual results state that it will be increasing production in the near term to reach 40% below productive capacity by 2024. Navajo Reservation. Within the United States, the Navajo Reservation housed many uranium mines that provided defense weapons and energy programs, but today the reservation has thousands of abandoned uranium mines. These mines have caused many health problems to the people on the reservation and has created this space to become a wasteland. Voiles, 2015.
Now, to talk about some problems with uranium mining. Some main problems are lung cancer and groundwater. Lung cancer. 16,752 El Dorado uranium workers who were exposed to radon and G-ray radiation during 1932–1980 were alive in 1969, and were followed for the development of new lung cancer during 1969–1999. Lung cancer incidence was significantly higher in workers compared with the general Canadian male population. Radiation risks of lung cancer for all histologic types: 34% squamous cell, 16% small cell, 17% adenocarcinoma. Zablotska, Lane and Randawa, 2022. Groundwater contamination. Groundwater contamination is one of the most concerning issues from uranium mining activities. Radionuclides cannot be destroyed or degraded, unlike some organic contaminants, and similar to metals. Besides, sites where radionuclides may be found are mainly radioactive and mixed waste disposal areas, and therefore many other contaminants may also be present in groundwater.
Nuclear waste. Low-level nuclear waste. Items that have been exposed to neutron radiation or other radioactive materials, typically stored on site until it has decayed away and can be disposed of in regular landfills. Intermediate-level nuclear waste includes resins, chemicals, and other contaminated materials with an intermediate activity level but long lifespan. Because of this long lifespan and higher level of radioactivity, this waste must be stored deep in a geologic repository for long periods of time. High-level nuclear waste, produced through the process of creating nuclear defense and reprocessing spent nuclear fuel, must also be stored deep in geologic repositories until radioactive decay reduces radioactivity to relatively safe levels.
Problems with nuclear waste. Uranium tailings. Waste produced directly from the mining of uranium ore, typically dumped as a sludge into special piles or bodies of water and then abandoned. Spent fuel rods. Fuel rods are used to produce nuclear energy. Once they are spent or no longer usable, approximately 18 months, they are then placed in deep pools of water to cool for 10 years. Afterwards, they are then also kept stored deep in geological repositories. Transuranic, TRU, nuclear waste. Waste that is contaminated with man-made radioactive elements that are heavier than uranium, also stored in geological repositories.
Let's talk solutions.
Where mines are present, ways to reduce exposure of uranium and radiation. Stay away from abandoned mines and mills. Find out if your home is a contaminated structure. Use regulated water for human needs. Never use unregulated water for human needs, even if it looks okay. Use good water hauling practices to keep your water clean. Other solutions. The policy reform. General Mining Law of 1872 allowed people to mine different kinds of resources on federal public domain lands. This can cause harm to communities due to radiation when these facilities are abandoned. Reform will keep communities safe from radiation and overall healthier when sites are abandoned. Community involvement. Before setting up a site near a populous area, the community should be involved in the decision of whether or not they want an uranium mining site near their home. Environmental protection should be number one priority in communities that consent to uranium mining sites.
Solutions for indigenous land. Indigenous lands have been taken advantage of for years. Uranium mining has had immense impacts to the environment and wildlife that live near sacred sites. Tribes need to work with the government to decide how to go about uranium mining. In doing this, they will be able to protect sacred sites, have their land used in a way that is beneficial for all parties, co-manage projects so make sure their land and people are protected. What to do when exposed to radiation. Similar to how they would screen you from excessive sun exposure, time, distance, and shielding techniques reduce your exposure to radiation. Limit time. Restricting or decreasing the exposure time lowers the dose from the radiation source for individuals who are exposed to radiation in addition to background radiation from natural sources. Increase distance. The amount of radiation is greatly reduced as you get farther away from the source, just as how the heat from a fire diminishes as you get farther away. Use shielding. Gamma-ray and X-ray barriers made of lead, concrete, or water offer defense against piercing energy. This is the reason why some radioactive materials are kept in rooms walled with concrete, lead, or water, and why people getting dental X-rays are covered with lead by dentists. The dose you receive will therefore be significantly decreased or eliminated if the right shield is placed between you and the radiation source.
Finally, some additional information. Nuclear waste is often a concern around nuclear power and therefore nuclear mining. The radioactivity of nuclear waste decays with time, which is why generally waste is stored for at least 5 years in underwater storage then moved to dry storage. It is common thought that this waste should be stored and allowed to decay for 50 years before disposal. There are options for disposal that involve deep geological storage units, which are facilities put under the ground to dispose of the waste. These haven't been implemented yet, however Finland has a planned construction to begin in 2023, while many other countries are investigating that option as one to better protect the environment.
Low-level, or near-surface level waste disposal systems have been implemented all over the world, including in the United States. These facilities are at ground level or just below, with a protective covering a few meters thick. Underneath are sets of waste containers that are put inside vaults, and once those vaults are full they are often encased in another layer of clay or concrete to act as a barrier or backfill. The scary thing is, even though precautions are taken, accidents happen and the damage can be irreversible. Despite the fact that uranium is present in many parts of the state, the Uranium mineral belt in the counties of Mesa, Montrose, and San Miguel is where the majority of the state's historic uranium and vanadium production came from. About 77% of Colorado's total uranium production was concentrated in this region. The Graysill property, vanadium and uranium, the Tallahassee Creek deposits in Park and Fremont counties, the Maybell deposits in Moffat County, among other uranium resources, are all found in Colorado. Although Colorado has historically produced uranium, there aren't any active mines or mills there right now. Around 2005, Montrose County in Colorado stopped producing uranium. There are several uranium reserves in Colorado, and numerous businesses continue to investigate and hold uranium mining permits there. Although Colorado has historically produced uranium, there aren't any active mines or mills there right now.
That is the end of our presentation. Thank you for watching, and here are our works cited pages.